Hello and welcome to Old Mutual's World of Endurance. On track, as always, we bring you the PPC Spoornet Great Train Race from Port Elizabeth to Loerie. Then it's off to Durban for the APSA SA Cross Country Championship. Stay close for some great endurance action. And runners, that's what it's all about as this year's PPC Spoornet Great Train Race in Port Elizabeth gets underway. This year, 640 teams of runners are pitting themselves against one of the last remaining active steam trains. The route is divided into 10 legs, with each member of the team running only once, which means a lot of fast sprinting in order to keep up with the loco. Leg 1 from the train bridge at Humewood Road to Hugh Road in Warmer, a fairly flat section with many of the runners able to keep up. And the first runner for the Old Mutual team, Camilla Nevote, pushing along hard, no one with time to conserve energy as they try to beat the train to the railway crossing at the PE airport. And a sprint just gets one of the middle markers across the line ahead of the train, all the others in the group having to mark time as they wait for the train and carriages to go through. The road and railway line cross several times before the finish line in Loerie, and the athletes will be able to measure their performance for most of the way. And of course those in the train can watch the runners.
The train in the past has been pulled by 2 locomotives. This year one of the locos went into retirement, so they've only got 1 steam engine. But the train driver didn't think that would be a problem. He said that it's actually less weight, so I don't think it hindered them too much. The one thing about the train, obviously if they went flat out from start to finish, Port Elizabeth to Loerie, they could probably do it a bit faster. But they have a schedule to adhere to. They've got to stop at stations along the way. And this gives the athletes a chance to actually, catch up a little bit, make a bit of a gap, because the train is slowing down, stopping, starting again. It's not a continuous journey.
One of the mounted police contingent watching as the teams make their way towards the next rail crossing. The first leg runner for the Energy team making it across in front of the train, while the rest have to wait. Into the third transition point, the Free Gold men's team in third position at the moment and just slightly behind the train. While further back, the UPE women's squad make their first handover. The runners funneled in and the next leg runners having to move in order to get into the right place in line. At this point in the race, the road swings away from the rail track for a while, leaving the runners guessing as to how they are doing before coming back to meet just past the prison. One of the military team runners beats the train, which is commonly known as the Appel Express. Walker Drive striders through in front as well. The Graafrenet Spa team doing very well, able to keep ahead of the train, although running down in 22nd position at the moment. The Mary Waters runner pumping very hard in order to stay ahead of the train, while the Old Mutual ladies remain at the front of the women's race, although the University of PE squad not too far behind. On the men's side, the Vodacom Nike Invitational team runners now quite a way in front, having pulled out a big gap over the University of Port Elizabeth men's side. Into one of the water points set up all along the route, this one just before the next transitional area. Even the primary schools taking part, the Caritas team taking an excellent 42nd place overall to win their section, even beating the varsity Old Boys women's team to the finish line. Through the watering point with a lot of support from the staffers there, this is a festive occasion all the way along the route. The Mr. Price UPE women in third place and now hot on the heels of the Old Boys women's side. While much further down the field, the Telkom national team runners simply enjoying the run in the country. Free Gold in third position and really pushing hard now in order to reduce the gap between them and the Mr. Price UPE side up in front of them. And a similar spurt being put in by the third place runners in the women's race as they push to catch the Old Boys squad in second and the Old Mutual women in the lead. And that gap being pulled right back, able to see second place clearly now, and the sprinting straight past to take over the silver medal position, which leaves Old Boys having to play catch-up. So the Mr. Price UPE runners lying second now in both the men's and women's categories, finishing the third leg and approaching the next transitional point. This one an 8.02 kilometer stretch from the corner of the Kragakama junction to the Seaview intersection, mostly flats, although with a nasty little rise just before transition 5. The grass running this leg for Mr. Price, the UPE still battling with the Old Boys women, while the Old Mutual ladies team extend their comfortable lead. The Energade Roadrunners A team now in 17th place overall and enjoying the run as the race moves back towards the railway line. The Free Gold runner putting in a storming start to this leg, still looking to reduce the gap on the Mr. Price UPE squad. But it's the Vodacom Nike squad still way out in front, setting a really blistering pace for the others to try and follow. Old Mutual into transition 3 and handing over the baton as Free Gold now start to pull back the gap on the UPE runners. The first 3 men still about even with the train in the distance. Mr. Price UPE trying to step up the pace, having been informed of the Free Gold attack, now just behind them. Approaching the next transitional point, following the Old Cape Road towards the Van Stadens Bridge, and Free Gold coming just behind the University team to make a fast handover. The ding-dong battle continues in the women's race, with UPE overtaking Karen Bradford of Varsity Old Boys to take up second place, while the leading men head for Van Stadens Bridge itself. The Vodacom Nike runner taking advantage of the downhill to put in an enormous sprint to pull back on the train, opening the gap back to second to almost 7 minutes. The new Van Stadens Bridge making an impressive backdrop as the leader heads over the old bridge and the long wait for the second place begins. The next runner in the UPE squad through the watering point, the battle now to maintain second position. An SAP Services helicopter keeping way ahead, soaring above, ensuring the safety of all the runners. Free Gold going through, although having dropped back. And the attention switching to the front as Shadrach Hoff takes up the lead for the Vodacom Nike team, with the Old Mutual women also way out in front. Hoff hands over the baton at the transition point 9, situated in the sugarcane field, with just 7.82 kilometers remaining now to the finishing line, and that's at Loerie. The runners and the train coming back together just past the transition, the track very winding at this point and forcing the train to slow a little. And that gives the Vodacom Nike runner the edge as he comes into the Loerie station and the finish line over a minute ahead of the train.
Ek het 'n bietjie die baie gesukkel. 'n Bietjie daar gedou die wind het ons gevang en 'n geweldige eentjie gehad. En dit was 'n gewellige dou geweest, vir baie gegly. Maar verder het goed gegaan.
Still full of steam, the first ladies team home. Old Mutual coming through in 4 hours 49:15.
Because I think today we race against the train, and then we will only want to beat the train. That was all.
Old Mutual World Cup.